This is part 3 of the work becoming a Swordmaster. Subscribe, like, let's go to the video. Back to the action. Punk Gorilla is deader than his uncle's joke at the family reunion. His lackeys, completely lost, couldn't even see Yamong throw the needle, and, in an act of magic, Yamong takes hundreds of needles out of his coat, using his internal energy to throw them as if it were a party game. The lackey yells for everyone to be alert, but it's too late. One of them falls before he even realizes it. The secondary character turns around and is shocked by the scene of hundreds of fallen bodies. Meanwhile, Yamong runs and, by chance, forgets to apply poison. But, surprisingly, the result is the same, as if everyone was poisoned. The fat guy, who can't process all this, is shocked by our protagonist's abilities. This guy might be the only one who defeated the 300 warriors of the Dark Silence sect alone. He might be right, and that makes the fat guy tremble to his core. The lakai and the rest can't believe what they just saw. They thought the Tang Clan was in free fall, but no one mentioned that they had a real monster as our protagonist. One of the lackeys, with his axe in hand, tries to keep his confidence. It's just one man, Gorilla Jr., in his eagerness for more screen time, steps forward, ready for a heavy attack. But poor guy Yamong grabs his axe and breaks it like a broken heart in a romantic ballad. With that, Gorilla Jr. is in a panic, because what Yamong used was the legendary dragon scale. The lackeys tremble when they see Yamong activating the 10,000 heavenly flower rain technique. And there goes our protagonist, ready to attack, while the fat guy watches everything with wide eyes. He heard that this secret technique of the Tang family had been lost, but no, what the fat guy didn't know was that Yamong's strength was still stronger than his own courage. As Yamong finishes eliminating the enemies, the fat guy thinks about letting the Tang Clan deal with the Black Death Alliance. But Yamong bursts the bubble of his illusions and asks, "Are you still here, fat guy?" The poor guy is so scared that his fat almost melts. "Your skills are impressive," he stammers. Yamong walks past him, suggesting that they continue the conversation in the main mansion. The chubby man, still in shock, takes one last look at the bodies and thinks, yeah, we definitely shouldn't make enemies of the Tang family. On the outskirts of Sichuan, Chubby and Sabaki were in a small inn, enjoying a meal. Chubby, relieved, commented that they hadn't encountered any problems with the unorthodox factions. He heard that, after the fall of the clan Tang, Sichuan had become a veritable festival of confusion. But, to his surprise, everything was completely calm. Then, we noticed the old Gen Z who was more serious than a math teacher. Chubby, scratching his head, wondered why he was so tense all of a sudden. A mysterious man appeared and asked if the food was good. Chubby, who was wider than he was tall, thought the guy was standing next to him, but he didn't even feel his presence. This guy is skilled, Chubby thought. Curious, he asked, "Who are you?" And the man answered, "I'm from the UF family." Chubby almost choked. The man was none other than the crippled lizard, leader of the Black Alliance. "What brings the members of the joint sect to my territory?" he questioned. Chubby thought he was like a character from I Am a Forgotten Villain, but in fact, he was just a luxury extra. With his heart racing, Chubby realized that they had gone to that remote inn to avoid trouble, but ended up facing the boss of the Alliance. The lizard turned to Sabaki, curious if he had any business with the Alliance. Sabaki replied that he had no business with the Alliance and asked if he was alone. The lizard, with an attitude of someone who has watched too many action movies, provoked. Sabaki, already irritated, released some energy and said, "In a fight between masters of the Fire Kingdom, whoever accumulates the most energy has the advantage." Chubby, thinking that Sabaki was more excited than a cat seeing a fish, realized that a fight could happen. Suddenly, the lizard released his energy and said that he had destroyed several sects 10 years ago. "The only reason you're still here is because you were far from Sichuan. If a fight is what you need, find a cool place for a duel." Chubby, with all his wisdom as a master in avoiding fights, he whispered to Sabaki not to be impulsive. But of course, the old man wanted to show that his sect was the best in the world. Back in the present, Chubby was telling Yamong how they ended up facing the crippled lizard. Chad, a friend of Chubby, commented that the situation was different from what he had seen before. Chubby explained that, shortly after that, the pursued ones appeared. In the confrontation, Sabak drew his sword and asked Chubby to retreat. The lizard, already in legendary warrior mode, was ready for action. Sabaki attacked like a ninja, but the lizard stopped his blow with his bare hands, praising the old man's technique. Cool, but that's not all. Sabaki got so angry that he decided to release his maximum energy, generating powerful waves. While Chubby, ever the optimist, thought Sabaki was dominating, he noticed that the lizard was smiling. Sabaki soon realized that the lizard was just testing his skills, blocking all attacks at the last second. Even though he was from an unorthodox faction, Sabaki decided to use all his secret technique. The lizard, in turn, figured out Sabaki's strategy. The technique detonated, causing an explosion that would make any fireworks look like child's play. Chubby was shocked. "Wow, you used the clan's secret technique." The old man, all proud, stood up and told Chubby that he had defeated the leader of the alliance. Chubby, in his moment of glory, thought, "I'm the protagonist now." But before they could relax, the lizard warned that their technique required more precision. He commented, as if giving a master tip. "So, our hero is unharmed and begins to explain that the technique he uses amplifies internal energy through intention. Although the name is demonic sword technique, deep down, it's just a very powerful internal martial art. Our friend Chubby tells Sabuki that what he's doing is indeed the secret technique of the accepted, but it's not the mix of energies we're used to." The lizard, all full of himself, asks why they're so surprised. He says that if someone understands the principles, it's easy, and that it doesn't have to be just a demonic technique. Who pushes Chubby to the side, while the lizard releases a furious attack of energy, announcing that he's going to rename the technique Subjugating Divine Energy. Ian asks Chubby if the lizard really learned the martial arts of the orthodox faction. Chubby, with his head down, admits that he adapted the technique to his own way. Although the energy he used was different, the essence of the demonic sword art was. What's impressive is that his technique ended up being even more powerful than the original. If the old man hadn't used the last bit of energy to block the attack, we would have gone to space. And the sleeve is jaw-dropping because SA is really in the realm of fire, so getting all this in just one duel is the work of a master. As Chubby ponders, he asks Yamong to collaborate in their sect's grand martial arts competition. The Heavenly Demonic Sect, which is based in Xinjiang, was once so strong that it could rival the 9 great sects and other martial groups. Many fights, the orthodox faction still doesn't feel ready to face these guys. The thing is, the sect is under the command of the feared leader SI, but everything changed when the leader's son, a truly talented pervert, decided to go out of line and form his own demonic sect, the Heavenly Brilliance. With this, the faction's elite was greatly weakened, and now is the last chance to finish them off. The problem is that they are worried about the Black Death Alliance to the south. If they move north now, while their best fighters are distracted, they will be in trouble. The power our Yamong has shown before is so strong that it can stop the alliance from moving north. So he humbly asks the Tang family to do the dirty work of eradicating the Heavenly Demonic Sect while they deal with the alliance. But Yamong's answer is not exactly what they expected. With a serious expression, he says, "No." Chubby informs Sabaki that the request has been denied, and Yamanj states that he cannot decide this alone, so he will consult the head of the family. In return, Chubby asks what to do if they cannot convince them. Sabaki tells them to wait a bit. Chubby also warns that the situation of the Tang Clan is quite different from what they imagined. During the trip, they noticed that the Tang family's buildings have grown. Their martial power has increased and the atmosphere among the clan members is great, completely opposite to what the rumors said about them being ruined by the mega pervert. Sabaki realizes that there must be a force that brought the clan back to life, and they must do everything they can to bring them to their side. As they talk, Iori and his father arrive, 2 martial artists smarter than a cat in a porcelain hall. Iori introduces himself as the Tang Clan's general affairs chief, and informs them that he is there on the orders of the family head. When they arrive at the main house, they are left speechless when the leader Mama introduces herself and asks if they have come to ask for help against the celestial demonic sect. She reveals that she is the acting head of the Tang family, and they soon realize that she is in the fire realm. This is probably why the clan has risen again. Although they cannot sense Yamong's power, our Queen Mama is, without a doubt, a force of nature. Chubby, always smart, tells Mama that their sect needs support, and that since they are fighting evil sects, it would not be right not to help in the name of justice. So he asks her to reconsider, but our mother remains silent. She turns to Yamong, who had already said no before, and asks if he has changed his mind. Yamong's answer is a resounding no, leaving the two like 2 fish out of water. While the fat man asks why he rejects, he tries to convince our Chad that if they don't stop these evil sexes, the martial world could turn into real chaos, and Mang, with a face like she just saw a ghost, tells these 2 monkeys that although the cult of the celestial demon is really dangerous, the Black Death Alliance and the evil faction are another story. According to Yamong, in his research, the Black Death Alliance doesn't bother ordinary citizens. They don't charge protection fees and still eliminate bandits, seeming more like an honest faction. With that, he disarms the fat man, who is shocked. while the old man maintains the calm of a Zen master. At his limit, he asks what kind of justice they preach when the Black Death Alliance and the cult pervert invaded the Tang Clan, and no one from the Orthodox faction showed up to help. Hypocrisy for sure. He says that prioritizing the safety of one's own sect is normal, but what they are doing is seeking help under the guise of eradicating the evil sexes. The fat man, who seems about to explode, clenches his fist, knowing that Yamong is right. They talk about justice, but they only act when their sects are threatened. The old man, perplexed, apologizes to Yamong for not having considered the Clantang's position. The fat man is shocked, because normally the old man would already be furious and ready to attack. But if that happened, they would have to drag his body. The old man admits that he was short-sighted, and it is natural to refuse help when all they do is seek their own benefits in the name of justice. He changes his tone and tells our Yamong that they are willing to pay a fair price, so this is now a cooperation, not a favor. With that, Yamong can no longer say no. The fat man, excited, begins to talk about the forces he can mobilize. But Chad, with the fury of a dragon, interrupts and asks how much they are willing to pay. And look at him, guys. After they leave the building, the fat man has lost some weight, because they will have to pay the upkeep of the sect for years. The old man thinks that if it saves his sect, it is a small price to pay. He tells the fat man that he must be confident to offer such an amount, and the fat man agrees, because his martial powers are impressive, almost like a crippled lizard. As for Yamong, his powers are difficult to estimate, and the fat man doesn't believe it because those in the Fire Kingdom sense it. And since Yamong can do it, he must be the strongest person he's ever met. Our Chad, hearing all this, is impressed, because the old man realizes that he's been hiding his powers. Mom tells Yamong that this isn't just about raising money, and there must be a reason why our Yamong agreed to this. Yamong comments that the Black Death Alliance's good deeds are for the Taoists, but he doesn't trust them. Mom reminds Yamong that order was maintained in Sichuan even after all the big sects fell. Yamong adds that this is all that crippled lizard's fault. The only reason they're considered an evil faction is because they didn't join the Orthodox faction. They act more like bandits, ignoring justice and seeking only their own gains. Order in Sichuan is currently temporarily maintained by the crippled lizard. If something goes wrong with him, they eliminate trade competitors and plant spies to invade or overthrow other clans. So, although their nature hasn't changed, order is maintained by the lizard. If he disappears one day, the evil faction will go crazy. Mom finally understands his point and asks what the current plan is. Hearing this, Yamong smiles and says it's simple. All they need to do is stop them from heading north. Mom isn't sure if they're strong enough to block the Death Alliance, since she doesn't know Yamong's current strength. Our Chad, with a serious expression, tells her that since they can't block them directly, he'll block them internally. Mom can't believe he's going to infiltrate the main base. Our mommy means my mommy. Anyway, she's nervous just thinking about how he's going to infiltrate. And Mang tells her that, recently, they themselves sent an invitation. Hearing this, mommy gets confused. Unlike the previous competitions, this will be a tournament where the young master of the evil factions will face each other. Yamong is on his way to the meeting, about to reveal his true essence. If the gang doesn't deal with his evil nature, he'll transform each one of them. Meanwhile, in a carriage, a guy warns that, when they arrive at Clantang, it's better not to do anything that might offend the head of the family. He's talking about Jiggly, who brought his niece, Yamong. If the gossip about Yamong is true, the niece is willing to do anything to win him over, even if her hands shake more than jelly on a party day. Oh, and she's really cute. Now, let's go to the Poison Hall, where Alm arrives all excited, bringing food and herbal medicine for T-Hole. Sabak tells him to come in, and someone comments that he looks like a little girl. He asks him how he's dealing with his internal energy, and he replies that thanks to him, he's much better, looking like a ray of sunshine. He thanks Aum for his grandfather's medicine, and Aum is happy. But when he sees the food, he is horrified. Not only were there herbs, but also poisonous plants. His face looks like he's eating something rotten. What he didn't expect was that, after devouring everything, his power would go up there. More than 9,000, and he would turn into a hairy version of Nappa. Even Aum's grandfather, who made the medicine, was shocked by the quick recovery. Anam is super excited, but then Chubby shows up asking why it's so noisy outside. There's a rumor that it might be because the Eagle clan has arrived, and Chubby panics. The Jiggly clan and the Tang family have always been close, and now they're here to set up a defense on the outer grounds. Chubby wonders if this is going to cost a fortune, while Sabaki asks if the clan Tang is footing the bill. Aum smiles and replies that the Eagle clan is covering the bill. The duo of the chubby and the old man are confused. Sabaki thinks they might have discovered the Jiggly clan's weakness. Now let's talk about the clown Jiggly, who is nervous just thinking about what our shed might do. And off we go to the main hall. There at the entrance, and he asks if he'll be able to impress them. And he's sure he will and shows off his clothing collection. Meanwhile, Jiggly Clown remembers his sister, who is called a beauty and hub, and thinks that winning a young man's heart for her would be a piece of cake. Remembering that, over a decade ago, when a pervert attacked the clan to capture his sister. Then, Jiggly Clown hears someone commenting that the Jahal clan helped them a lot and they both blush. Now they're even preparing a formation for them, and the head of the family is grateful. Jiggly Clown realizes that, if she's the head of the family, she's probably Archad's mother. The boy was so impressed by her presence that he even forgot to say hello. Then Jiggly Clown enters, introducing himself elegantly. He apologizes for not knowing he had ascended the throne. Understandable, since he wasn't there to see it. He says they've had a long journey, and it's time to rest before work. Clown Jiggly, with all due respect, thanks her for her consideration. Then, he is asked who the girl next to him is. He answers that it's his niece, who he brought to strengthen the clans. He encourages her to greet the head of the family, but the poor niece is so stunned by Yamong's beauty that she doesn't hear anything. Seriously, Yamong should send his mother flowers for this. While she's daydreaming, Clown Jiggly tries to bring her back to reality, and introduces himself, apologizing for the late greeting and congratulating the mother on being the new head of the family. The mother thinks she's a very polite child and says that, soon, the guys will be heartbroken because of her. The niece is shy, thinking it's a compliment. The mother, full of pride, says that she was also famous in her youth and that her niece looks just like her. Oh, if only it were real. But she tells her mother that when she first saw her, she thought she was Chad's sister. In her head, her mother is a kind woman and she only has compliments. The mother comments that, since her niece is the same age as Yamong, they will get along really well. Meanwhile, the niece is in tears, telling her mother that no one in her family has ever shown her so much affection. And she wonders if Yamong is paying attention to her story, but he seems lost in thought. Clown Jiggly can't believe he ignored such a touching narrative. Normally, men would be falling at her feet, and he is confused, wondering if he doesn't even care about her. Now, back to Chad, he's daydreaming about another girl who's 6 chapters behind. Jiggly the clown feels like a failure, but the girl won't take being rejected, since it's her first time. The mother tugs Yamong's cheeks, telling him to pay attention, but the girl is determined to impress Chad. And now, we shift to the Black Death Alliance territory, where the people are talking about the Clan Tang chief. A little girl runs around, as they discuss how Yamong doesn't get along with them. In the meeting halls, the elders debate the budget for the meeting, and a guy biting a twig tries to look cool and says that the report is enough for today. He's the leader of the Demon Lords, and he congratulates a red-haired goblin for taking care of everything. With the help of the Void Immortal Hall, she replies that it's nothing, just doing her duty as the leader's servant. The others think that the Alliance leader simply ignored the report and left. An old man comments that he has always been a free spirit. At that moment, someone enters the room and everyone is shocked by the presence of the entity. The goblin, sweating profusely, is a little girl who wants to tear City 1 to hell. Encounter. She jumps on her uncle, asking what happened, since she thought it would be troublesome last time. She heard rumors and asks if the head of the Clan Tang family will participate, which is the right information. Then she tells Teasy that all the women in the area have their eyes on him, and if the rumors are true, he might end up being her husband. The uncle, who was eating leaves, she thinks that if her father knew about this, he would be speechless, while the goblin listens to the conversation, irritated, but unable to do anything. In one of the Tang family houses, Yurian Murian is giving our divine waifu's hair a makeover, who, even after so much time of rest, is still full of beauty. While she laughs and gets shy, we remember that the last time Yamong appeared, he couldn't hide how enchanted he was by her. Yurian Murian, always full of energy, asks her to share her beauty secrets, because apparently, she needs an urgent transformation. She then activates her Power Ranger mode and asks her what she thinks of Yamong. The poor thing is so embarrassed that she starts to wonder if she is using martial arts to monitor her breathing. Yurian Murian warns her that when she mentioned his name, her breathing changed. This only confuses her even more. Is everything okay? She asks with a worried look. Yurian Murian takes advantage and says that our Yamong will be sitting out the meeting, so she won't be able to see him for a while. This scares her, but she quickly says that the most important thing is that the most dangerous evil factions will face off. Her expression is one of pure apprehension, but Irion Muriel just wants to know if she can handle the fact that our Yamong might fall in love with another girl. She can't even think of a response. Irion Muriel then strikes another hero pose and suggests that they should go to the Sichuan meeting together. Miso, ever practical, makes a disapproving face and asks if they won't burden the head of the family. And Irion Muriel, with all the confidence in the world, responds that he already has everything planned. In the main hall of the clan Tang, Yamong is bored and asks the girl if it's true that she wants to go to the Sichuan meeting. The girl confirms, saying that she heard that the young master of the evil faction will compete for powers there, with an impassive face. Just like the boss at my old job, when I messed up, he'd tell me that I can take a guard and a maid. The girl, in her thoughts, decides that this is not a leisure trip. She wants to win over the head of the family. No matter what, when the girl enters her room, Yamong feels that two more people are approaching. And of course it could only be the girls. Irion Muriel arrives with the queen and warns that Miso is eager to discuss something with him. And here comes Miso, who finds everything very disrespectful towards the head of the family. It is at this moment that Irion Muriel notices a fox spying. Irion Muriel asks who the fox is, and the girl is also in the same mood, and Mang asks what Miso is doing there. And before Irion Muriel can explain, the girl makes a face that reminds her of the cat from Pokemon. She says that she and her sister want to leave for the government of Sichuan, and Mang almost falls backwards. And the funniest thing? Our Yamong is completely lost. They plan for Irion Muriel to be the guard and Miso to be his maid, since he can only take one of each. In the middle of the meeting, Yamanga is there, thinking about what is happening. Miso is so beautiful that she rivals Yamanga's mother. But seriously, no one can surpass Mom. Back to the girl who is in shock, thinking that if Miso goes with Yamong, her plan and position will go down the drain. And then, Yamong surprises everyone by saying that he can take Irion Muriel as a guard. But Miso can't go, because she already has someone in mind for the position of maid. The girl, thinking that she might be the chosen one, gets excited, while Irion Muriel says that, if Miso doesn't go, she won't go. And Manga then decides to choose another warrior from the clan, making Irion Muriel even more irritated. Miso, emotional, starts to cry and tells Irion Muriel to stop, stating that if the head of the family doesn't want it, better not to force it. Yamong surprises everyone by saying that this trip is not a walk in the park. It's more like a potential epic battle. He has no idea what might happen when facing the evil factions. If Miso goes, she might end up in trouble, and Irion Muriel can't protect her. And as if that wasn't enough, they're heading to the Black Death territory, where he might even have to face their leader. Considering that Mizu is still recovering, that would be an impossible mission. Back to Irion. She agrees with Yamong and thanks him for explaining the situation. And speaking of superheroes, Yamong is like that rare protagonist who seems to have come out of a fairy tale. A true gentleman. But before we continue, don't forget to subscribe, okay? Irion is sweating as he says he's still going. But Yamanji asks why she told everyone she wasn't going. She gets irritated and replies that she can't let a fox guard the henhouse. Speaking of awkward moments, Jiggly is almost asleep, looking at a defense formation. Yamanj surprises her by asking why he is standing there, almost daydreaming. It's nothing like that, he shouts, explaining that he's making adjustments and everything will be ready by tomorrow. And Mang activates her vision ability to check the formations in the Tang family. Diggle tells Yamong that all the key points are secure, and that if he doesn't finish his life would be at stake. Back in the present, he says that he still has time, and Yamong praises him, saying that if he tries hard, he can get the job done. Hearing this, Jiggly starts to cry, thanking him for saving his life. And Mang is impressed, thinking that things are going better than he expected. But there's still something more to do. In the main hall, he summons the elder Tang Jirong, a brave guy who doesn't mince his words. Yamong mentions that he heard that the elder is good with swords and suggests a conversation. The elder admits that Yamong's performance in the competition was impressive, but that his skills are still a little above what Yamong can achieve. Yang, in turn, makes an unexpected offer. He will give him fencing tips in exchange for following his orders. The elder is shocked by the proposal, but also a little excited. Opportunities like this don't come around every day. And meanwhile, Yamong wonders what this ant is talking about because he is being dominated by overwhelming powers. Look at his face as he starts to sweat. It's laughable. The fat man noticed that his friend's face was paler than a sheet of paper and immediately asked if he was okay. The friend, with a trembling voice, "We need to go back to the sect," he said. What he saw was not an illusion. But it is hard to believe that a human could have so much power. And just on a hunch, Uncle Genja thinks that the rise of the Tang Clan is not the fault of the family head, but rather our Chad. As they leave, the woman excitedly declares that the clan's motto is simple: "We will repay kindness double and revenge tenfold." These are the golden rules of family values. Loyalty comes first. Since they agreed to help the fat sect, they will fight together. And of course, my wife's beauty and vigor cheer up the crowd. I married this beauty, but joking aside, the group of pigs who are still in the clan seem to have a hard time understanding the situation. Apparently, these losers will try to cause trouble for the Tang Clan. With everything ready, my wife wishes them good luck in the battle. Later, Aum hands our Yamong an industrial quantity of energy drinks, or rather, burning poison. UMM asks why he always carries this poison instead of trying others. Yamanji replies that it's because he's familiar with it, and that there's no poison like it. It's Yamong's favorite flavor. He bids farewell to Aum, as his companions are waiting. But then, Snake appears, curious as ever. He can't believe he's so young and so strong, and Mang asks what led to this doubt. Snake explains that it's hard to imagine someone his age surpassing so many veteran martial artists. Sure, he's not yet at the level of the unseen guest, but the sword technique he used to recruit the elder was so advanced that it would make even Swordmasters jealous. Yamong, being the genius that he is, comes up with a quick answer. If there are people like the leader of the Black Death Alliance who can learn martial arts in the blink of an eye, why couldn't there be a Yamong like that? Snake needs to stop with these crazy ideas. After all, our Yamong is definitely not a dragon. Then, he goes to the main hall where his friends are waiting. Irion Murian asks where Yamong has been. Yamong replies that he went to get some poison, but they still haven't realized that a third person is accompanying them. The man introduces himself as Jang Gil and says that he is there to take care of Yamong and keep him safe on the journey. Yamong, with a little smile on his face, says that he will count on him. And then the beautiful woman appears, asking Yamong if he is going to leave now. Upon seeing her, the secondary characters are so shocked that it seems like they all saw their crush. She says that everything is fine, no need for formalities. She then warns Yamong that the wind is rising and that no matter what he decides in life, she will support him, but not to overexert himself. Yamong replies that he does not need to worry, then turns to the secondary characters and asks them to take good care of the head of the family. As if they were programmed robots, they assure him that they will do so. Hearing this, she bids them farewell. In the heart of Sichuan, we are heading to our squadron. Irian comments that it looks like a festival, but it was not like this the last time he came, and Mang asks if she has been there before. Irian Murio, full of pride, says that she has several times when her father was still managing the trading company. But after the trading company and some evil factions showed up, the business shrank like a t-shirt in the dryer. Upon hearing this, Yamong remembers that his father had already mentioned it. And our Chad, always thinking about the future, concludes that if the clan expands, it would be smart to have a trading company, since it is not possible to live only on money embezzled by the elders and the profits from the medical wards. Now, the penny is dropping for our Chad. He will have to face these evil factions. And Mang sends Irian Murio to call his father. Irian Murio, curious, asks what his father's deal is. Our Chad explains that he is thinking of helping him manage the trading company's sword shop. Irian is so happy that he almost jumps for joy, saying that now there is no turning back. Later, in a corner of the city, a dwarf is relaxing alone. He's so well dressed that it looks like he's been to a parade, but the truth is that today is going to be a quiet day. His dream, to find someone who really knows how to appreciate swords. Then he hears a voice. It's our Yamong, asking if the place is open, since he didn't hear any hammers banging. Yamong, who looks like a ninja version of Naruto, answers that he's just there to look at the swords. The dwarf, seeing Shad's unusual manner, welcomes him with open arms and invites him to take a look at the swords. He tries his best not to brag about his collection, but pride is hard to hide. Irian asks why Yamong needs a sword, and Yamong answers, better carrying a weapon even if it's just to pose, and Mang begins to evaluate a sword, lightly tapping it. The quality of the blade is so good that it could cut through even everyday problems. Yamong, impressed, tells the dwarf that he really has reason to brag. The dwarf is shocked. He can hardly believe that someone can evaluate swords just by looking and tapping them. Yamong then tells everyone to choose a sword that suits their taste. The dwarf, all excited, runs in and asks Yamong to wait a second. He comes back with a huge box and places it on the table, asking Yamong to open it. He is so excited that it seems like he has found a treasure. When Yamong opens the box, he almost falls backwards. It is a demon slayer's sword. While everyone admires the shining sword, Irian, Muriel, and Yamong are stunned. Even the green-haired girl, who knows nothing about swords, realizes that this is something special. The dwarf, full of pride, says that the sword was not forged by him, but by his master, a true genius who unfortunately passed away. The dwarf worked hard to finish the sword, and is delighted with the result. He asks Yamong what he thinks of the sword. Yamong, with a smile, says that it is a true masterpiece, worthy of being displayed. But in a moment of sincerity, he reveals that a sword like this is too much for him and could attract unwanted attention. The dwarf is disappointed, but ends up agreeing, saying that if this is Yamong's wish, there is nothing he can do about it. A bunch of nonsensical characters enter the scene. When the little man sees the situation, he reacts as if he had seen a ghost, calling the man in front of him young Master Yen. He is visibly irritated because he had told the little man to bring the best sword in the store. But instead, he brought a real disappointment. Let's call this little man Rotten Ginger because, let's face it, his face is not exactly a calling card. Rotten Ginger doesn't realize that the blacksmith is laughing at him. In fact, he is spicier than a plate of chili. Short, nervous, tries to explain that it's all just a misunderstanding, while our Yamong watches this scene as if he were watching a one-act comedy. Yamong, on the other hand, is confused because, among a crowd of ants, a strange aura emerges. And this, of course, is not something that a normal boy would find comfortable. Noticing the heavy atmosphere, Snake appears with some magical items and tells Yamong that he felt something strange. And bingo, it's demonic energy. Snake has faced this a few times and asks Yamong if this is the first time he's seen something like this. Yamong replies that he's actually only heard of it, so Snake suggests that maybe it's time to capture one of these demons for a good interrogation. Rotten Ginger, not content with being a failure, orders Yamong to step aside because he's going to kill the blacksmith. And if Yamong doesn't move, well, he's going to go after our Rotten Ginger tea. Not one to miss an opportunity to be a real pain in the ass, tells Yamong that he has a foul mouth for a kid. This makes Yamong so angry that, with a snap of his fingers, he knocks the ugly guy down. When this happens, the guards react as if someone stole the bear, the last cookie in the jar. Yamong looks at Rotten Ginger and says that with that level of skill, it doesn't matter how good his sword is. He wouldn't know how to use it even after 20 years of training. Meanwhile, our Yamong keeps his cool, making Murian shocked. One of the guards, more dramatic than a soap opera, starts barking like a dog and warns Yamong about Nam Jin Sung's grandson, the lord of the Hyang sect. He basically says that Yamong can prepare the coffin. Yamong gets so angry that he says he doesn't care about their status and asks what their connection to the demonic sect is. Their reaction is a mix of shock and fear, especially when they realize that one of them is the boss that our Yamong will easily take down. Back to Rotten Ginger, he is nervous because Yamong called his sect an insult. If our Yamong doesn't value life, well, the guards try to protect him, but soon their heads fly off with the scene of heaps. The Rotten Ginger loses all its flavor and falls to the ground. Suddenly, many demon soldiers appear, and their leader declares that the Celestial Moon Brigade will take care of this ginger. The rest of the guards are eliminated, and their leader, who thought he was all-powerful, is shocked because Yamong saw through his camouflage, which was as good as a shower curtain. Meanwhile, Ginger's subordinates are in tears, and Murius can't believe what's happening. What really surprises everyone is when Yamong comments that, with the stench of demon feces coming from a kilometer away, he could see the demons from afar. Murian thinks he has gone mad by mocking someone's appearance. The bald man, holding back his anger, tells Yamong that even after seeing all his friends being killed, he feels no urgency. Yamanga then asks the dwarf for a sword and grabs the masterpiece while saying that, if urgency is what they want, they should worry about their own future. Yamong warns that from where he is, all of them and those they killed are the same thing. This angers the bald man so much that he orders his minions to escort the young master. Yamong wasn't wrong in calling him ugly. One of the turds grabs the ginger, but Yamong is shocked to see that the young master has no idea who they are. In Yamong's head, this kid must be living on another planet. And then, an ugly fart appears and curses our Chad, very irritated, for not receiving due attention. But without even blinking, Yamong blocks the fart's attack. As the fight intensifies, a mini explosion occurs. The fart, thinking he is the fastest of the bunch, ends up being thrown back, while staring at our Shad, who remains impassive. Suddenly, his world starts to spin, and he thinks about counterattacking. But it was over, his head rolls away, while his subordinates watch in shock. Irian and Yamong are paralyzed, and the ugly Injibur looks like it's going to turn into mashed potatoes. Yamong, standing in front of the headless body, can't believe what he just saw. After a sword movement that looks like a ballet, Bro praises it. It's so well balanced and sharp that there's not a drop of blood on it. He tells the dwarf that this sword is truly a masterpiece and that he is also amazing for carrying it. The dwarf, moved, begins to cry. In a flashback, we see the senior dwarf making the sword, and telling the junior dwarf that every valuable object one day finds its rightful owner. He is sure that the sword he is forging will find its master. And guess what? He believes that our Yamong is the rightful owner. We return to Yamong, who asks if anyone else wants to be beaten and suggests that they all attack at once. The next moment, the fools advance, telling them not to underestimate and Shad. Yamong smiles and, with a single blow, cuts down half of them. It is as if he is dancing on water. A true spectacle. With a series of quick blows, he takes them all down, one by one, and the dwarf is speechless. The girls are in shock and Murian is exhausted from so much surprise. It's hilarious that she didn't even know that our Yamong had learned swordsmanship. Now, we change the scene. The guy who looks more like a pizza thinks that the losers of the Black Death Alliance have no idea that he is part of the divine cult of the Heavenly Demon. He is Nam Jinsu, the second son-in-law of the Black Death Alliance. But let's call him Pizza Face. Pizza Guy is so delusional that he believes that his son has the family talent. He clenches his fist in delirium, thinking that if his son shows his strength at the Sichuan assembly, he can become the leader of the Black Death Alliance. A real crazy plan. As he smiles, he thinks that when they realize what is happening, the demonic path will already be in Sichuan. But then, an ant appears and breaks his reverie. He asks if the ant shouldn't be protecting his son. The ant replies that the young master is being attacked by an unknown entity. The pizza guy or pizza face starts to melt, about to lose his mind. Now we return to our Chad, who is cutting the enemies like they were vegetables, showing off his culinary skills. Everyone is amazed, especially Murian, who wonders who will clean up this mess. She thinks that if she had brought her sister, she would probably be dead by now. She asks Yamong why he let one of them escape, since he could bring reinforcements. And Mang replies that she already knew and let the guy go on purpose. He points his sword at Junior Pizza Face, saying that an idiot who doesn't even know what the demon cult is probably has someone hiring ants to protect him. Junior turns to Yamong and says, "Dude, are you crazy? I don't even know what this demonic cult is." But then Yamong cuts it off. "Shut up, because you'll find out everything soon when the gang arrives." And as always, the extras' jaws drop, until a scream from outside makes everyone tremble. Surprise! It wasn't a villain, it was a pizza delivery guy with a colony of ants. He arrives all angry, saying that whoever took the hostage should get ready, because he might even spare someone's life if they cooperate. The guy has a weird pizza face, like stretched out, and he threatens, "If you don't do what I say, you'll become monster food." Pretty brave for a slice of pizza. Huh? And the mangrove doesn't waste any time. Grab a pizza cutter and place it on Pizza Face's neck. Then he says, "What are you going to do now, Mr. Pizza?" The extras are shocked again, thinking, "Hey, who's the villain here after all?" Murian, the compulsive thinker, starts to freak out, remembering that Yamong has already defeated about 300 fighters before. Meanwhile, she looks at Yamong like, "What the hell kind of plan is this?" "Ha!" Pizza Face, all tough, yells at Yamong, "How dare you? You don't even know about my powers, man." But Yamong gives it back in a jiffy. "Oh, I know, you're from the demon cult. I can feel that evil energy there." Everyone gets tense. Pizza Face starts to melt, as if he had been left in a too-hot oven. How did he notice my demonic energy? Think about the melted pizza. Pizza Face, already desperate, calls his Celestial Moon Brigade to use a bizarre technique. The reverse blood demon. Once again, everyone is shocked. They've even gotten used to it, poor things. The ants now look like angry carrots, and Pizza Face drops a bombshell revelation. His brother destroyed several important families, including Chad's. Murian goes crazy with rage, wanting to fight, but someone soon stops her, reminding her that if she tries to fight, she'll just be dead weight. So, everyone decides to trust Chad. Pizza Face then sends his evolved chicken wings to attack, but Yamong calmly activates the protagonist's wrists. Don't ask me what that is. He only says one word, eliminate. Then chaos begins. The world loses its colors, the sword swings, and the entire army is sliced like a pizza, except for Pizza Face. Once again, the supporting characters do what they do best. They are shocked. Pizza Face, now not knowing what to do, thinks, "This can't be real. I had 70 demonic ants with the reverse blood demon technique. How did he do it?" He even remembers a flashback from the past, when he was still a raw pizza. Yes, seriously. There, he saw 2 cult guardians being beaten to a pulp by the pervert Heavenly. Now, he is face to face with the overwhelming power of Yamong, whom he hasn't seen since that fateful day, when he still didn't use sauce. So get this, the oppressive vibe is in the air. And who is causing this? Mega Yamong himself, my son Yamong. For the first time, I see a decent extra kneeling and begging for his life. The guy says, "Oh Lord, For the love of God, spare me. You can even kill me, but leave my son out of this. He doesn't even know where the problem came from. But Junior Pizza, his son, is an ordinary kid who barely knows what's going on. And Mang, with a voice colder than Freezer, responds, if he's so ordinary, why did he try to kill a blacksmith just because the guy didn't make a top sword? The extra still tries to defend himself, but before he can bark more nonsense, Yamang silences him permanently. Junior Pizza just watches, with that face of someone who's going to be the filling of the next slice. Our Yamang ends the fight as if it were nothing. In the next scene, we're inside the store. The blacksmith, who has been trembling until now, finally hands over the long-awaited sword to Yamong. The blacksmith almost cries, saying, if you weren't here, I'm already gone. Consider this sword as payment. Moved, he still says that his master wanted someone worthy to be the owner of the weapon. And who more worthy than our Megashad, right? Yamong all shy, yes. Even Shades have moments of embarrassment. He accepts the sword. Everyone around is cheering, like a surprise birthday party, and Yamong decides to take the sword. But of course, he lets one go. Little dwarf, get me a sheath because that sword is too flashy. Snake, another extra, appears and orders, man, you are much more impressive than I thought. If they call you the King of Swords in the future, it won't be an exaggeration. And so, we close the scene with our Mega Yamong, winning yet another epic title. Cut to the crowd in front of a giant gate. An excited nobleman points to someone and says to his friend, look, have you ever seen anyone like this guy among the successors of the Sichuan sect? The friend, who reads more than he has dial-up internet, assumes that his guards are women, so he must be a conqueror. But these nobles are getting more screen time than they deserve. Meanwhile, the first nobleman is already discouraged, thinking, this guy already won just because of his pretty face. Our Chad, of course, is showing off his presence, leaving even the judges speechless. One of the judges, confused, asks, what clan are you from, young man? And when he hears Tang family, it sends chills down both of their spines. And off we go to another corner, where a group of half-naked women, yes, that's the description, are determined to kill our Chad. She finds out that Yamong registered her name on the participant list in the morning and went straight to take a nap. She smiles mischievously, thinking. In a dramatic flashback, we see her crying on the floor, clutching a book, remembering how she was just the concubine of a military officer, treated like a toy. But one day, the officer had an accident and she took the opportunity to run away with a martial arts manual. After that, she meets the gray-haired gorilla, who teaches her the basics of fighting. And so, her journey of revenge begins. But, it's going to be difficult against Megashad. After learning the basics, she decided to practice the manual that she had, borrowed. The name? Red Lotus Flame Art. The problem? It seems that her luck wasn't very willing to cooperate, because her body began to wither away as if she had caught the worst flu in history. Every day was a new defeat. When she realized she wasn't going to last long, she decided to abandon the gray-haired gorilla. Years passed, and she heard that the gorilla had not only survived, but had become the leader of the gang called the Silent Sword of Darkness. Meanwhile, she was in that drama queen vibe, almost dying and thinking about saying goodbye to life. But, of course, she had many regrets, and she just wanted to see the gorilla one more time. That's when a black lizard appeared, not at all common, by the way, and walked with her. Out of nowhere, he said, look, you have a cool talent, but why are you almost dying? He figured out the problem quickly. She had learned 2 opposing martial arts, one of Yin and one of Yang, and the energies were basically fighting inside her. No wonder her body was asking for the ruler. The lizard even gave the hint. Recite the formulas of the arts you learned. She, almost hypnotized, did what he asked. In less than half an hour, she created a new version of the Red Lotus art. Only now, adapted for a woman, with Yang energy and everything. The lizard, who by the way, was the leader of the Black Death Alliance, of course, also assured her, if you train well, the injuries will disappear. Just keep going. As a thank you for saving her life, she set up her own sect, the Transforming Heart Sect, and joined the Black Death Alliance. Since the gorilla was now also part of the alliance, she thought, let's rekindle this flame. But the gorilla, very direct, cut the wave right off. You're talented, but please don't get things mixed up. He was so distant that he seemed like another person. The funny part, she couldn't even complain. After all, she was the one who left him first. Now comes the part that no one asked for, but everyone deserved. Yamong. He appeared out of nowhere, annihilated the dark sect, and on that day, our heroine decided, I'm gonna finish off this Yamong. But there was a basic problem. The guy was super powerful, like level above impossible. Even with her Red Lotus, she knew it would be complicated to defeat him, but she had a plan for the next assembly. He wasn't going to escape this. Meanwhile, in another dimension, Yamong was meditating when the Serpentine Man appeared. He had been there mentally training for over an hour and he hadn't moved. The snake thought, that must be an old master disguised as a young man. It must be. In his mental realm, Yamong was in an epic duel with his master. Both prepared to attack, their swords in equal positions. When they finally attacked, the impact was so great that it caused a colossal explosion. When the dust settled, Yamong was on the ground, cut in half. Yamong realized that it had only been a weak version of the technique he knew as elimination, because if he had been at his peak, he would have cut the entire area in half. Now, Yamong had to master a skill called Destructive Force, which in reality killed normal people because it was so strong. But he and his master were special, so they could control it easily. And if he mastered it, his strength would be absurd. But then he began to wonder, am I too attached to this sword? Even with his somewhat lame technique, he still managed to do well in the art of eliminating the opponent. The problem is that his strength and mental technique are not getting along, but he thinks he can fix it by adjusting the technique. Green heart poison to better match his sword. Yamong suddenly wakes up and sees that there is a troll drawing on his face. Yamong tries to put order in the mess, but the troll doesn't care. Iriamurio, who was already impatient, asks if Yamong was sleeping this whole time. Yamong looks like it wasn't exactly like that and asks if everyone is ready. Iriamurio answers that they were just waiting for him. Then the fight starts. Yamong tells everyone to leave and Yamong asks Iriamurio how long she is going to treat Yamong like a little friend. Iriamurio, who doesn't take any nonsense. Let's go. And why would I care, since Yamong doesn't say anything? And then, of course, the fight starts, leaving Yamong in an awkward spot. Yamong, with the wisdom of someone who has seen a lot, gives the orders. There's no need to worry about dignity when the audience is made up of corpses. But before all this, I took a hit and now the bill will be 10 times worse. In the heart of the Black Death Alliance, everyone is just waiting for the competition to start. Right away, we are introduced to the scary women of the Sichuan assembly. She explains the rules. Either you win or you lose even respect. So, in this competition, even life or death duels are allowed. And who's super excited about that? Little Shot and Old Rabbit. Yes, I nicknamed him Rabbit because he seems like a nice guy. The bets are already made and they're all in the contract. Whoever wins takes everything for 5 years. What if someone challenges the result? The main sect enters the field and decides. Break the rules? That's an insult to the Alliance and it will cost dearly. Everyone is in shock until the bombshell news arrives. The legendary swordsman, the Sword of 9 Rings, also known as the Branched Rabbit, will oversee everything. When everyone hears this, their jaws drop. A random person shouts that the Sword of 9 Rings is one of the 6 great masters of the path of evil, and of course, the strongest of the Black Death Alliance. The chubby guy next to Yamong almost has a fit of happiness, because he always dreamed of meeting the rabbit. He introduces himself and says he came with the leader's daughter. Yon Rabbit wants to see the dick eat up close. Horrible Bangs, another affectionate nickname, explains that he will oversee the life or death duels. If anyone wants permission like that, they have to ask him. While she speaks, a brave man raises his hand and asks to challenge our Mega Yamong to a duel of life or death. Everyone thinks, and there goes another random person trying his luck. Let's call him Nobody Number 1, because, right, he's just an extra. He's the son of a certain gray-haired gorilla. And yes, this description is real. The rabbit realizes that he is from the Silent Sword sect of the Great Darkness and deduces that he wants to avenge his father, who was defeated by Chad. Now, the two go up on stage, and everyone is more concerned with Yamong's beauty than his fighting skills, including the daughter of the clan leader. Romance in the air? We'll see. The rabbit looked at her and thought, this person is glowing with excitement. But soon he came back to reality. If Yamong loses, it will be a fiasco. He explains that no one, except the fighters and their security, can interfere in this mess. Oh, and the duel has no rules. Anything goes, including ignoring the opponent's plea for mercy, since this is a duel to the death. The rabbit, with all the style of an MMA judge, asks, are you ready? And both the Nobody, one of the fighters, and Yamong, our hero, or should it be Chad, agree. Their sects approved and even allowed them to bring the organized fans. The rabbit, curious, turns to Yamong and asks, where are your guards, boy? Peace. And Mang, with that face of someone who knows she's going to win, answers, they're out there. But you don't have to do anything. It doesn't matter if there are 1 or 3. The result won't change. This answer made the trio of nobodies quite angry. And honestly, they look like they were born angry. Then the rabbit thinks, wow, Yamong is bold, and starts the fight. The 3 nobodies pull out their swords, ready to attack. The guys seem to be imitating a character from the Monkey King, because they really do look like retarded monkeys with swords. The energy of their swords, however, is impressive. But Yamong, in good spirits, is calm. The ugly nobles, 1 and 2, go after our Chad, with the idea of distracting him and, at the first opportunity, finish him off using a martial arts technique. Pretty rubbish, to be honest. Only, instead of attacking, they both fall to the ground like sacks of potatoes. Everyone is confused, until they realize that they have feather needles stuck in their necks. Too fast even for the rabbit to see, and the mangrove gets impatient and asks, "What's up? Are you going to stay down, or are you going to entertain me a little more?" The nobody one, furious, promises Terryamang. He advances, with his sword ready for the final blow. But, surprise, the sword disappears, the nobody is left open-mouthed and realizes that Yamong is behind him, letting out one of those dramatic movie phrases. Among those who attacked the Clantan, there were 2 who used the sword energy. One of them was my father and the other was a spy. But look, you're not even close to them. Upon hearing this, the nobody starts to cry. Seriously, it looked like he was going to turn into Super Saiyan Broly out of anger. As Yumanji walked away, he thought, they were the ones who started this. Not me. The crowd, always useless, is left speechless, commenting that the difference in power is absurd. One of them thinks that the successor of the Dark Clan is quite weak. No one is angry, not because he couldn't avenge his father, but because he is weaker than his half-brother. Sad, right? Then, out of nowhere, an ant screams. The battle is not over yet. Nobody turns his sword black as coal and attacks with everything. He wants to prove that he is better than his half-brother and gain more screen time, but Yamong destroys his dream, breaking the sword with his bare hands. The rabbit, his niece, and everyone watching are shocked, except for the pair of retards, who are already used to seeing Yamong doing these things. End of story. Nobody dies. Rest in peace. You won't be missed. And Mang even thought about going easy on him. But he was surprised that the guy, even poisoned and almost paralyzed, still managed to fight. The rabbit praises our Shad, impressed by his technique of breaking swords with his hands. It seems that the Tang train their hands for this kind of thing, but the rabbit didn't expect him to stop a sword energy like that with such ease. Yamong brags, thinking that he managed to block it because he was wearing his dragon scale armor. But he doesn't need to tell anyone that. So, he simply mentions that the clan has its special techniques. The rabbits, who were watching everything, think the fight is incredible and proclaim our hero, Chad, as the big winner. He can decide whether he wants to continue fighting or not, and like a true Chad, Yamong chooses to continue. But he asks if the Sword of the Nine Rings allows it. He makes it clear that it doesn't matter if the entire Black Death Alliance attacks at once, the result will be the same. And we're not just talking about the fighters, but everyone in the alliance. With the confident nobody lying on the ground, a loser in the crowd tells Yamong that he went crazy asking everyone to attack at once. Another ugly rat says that Yamong is getting too cocky just because he beat an opponent. These clueless people think they can tell our Yamong that Yamong is nobody special, since he's the young head of a fallen clan. Delusional is an understatement. Then a voice catches Yamong's attention. It's an ugly girl who tells Yamong that, although life and death duels are allowed, the Sichuan assembly is not a street fighting ring. She says that this is an official event where representatives of each sect show off their martial skills. And as the organizer, she can't let Yamong ignore the rules and act like he's the king of the coconut. Rabbit, who seems to be the only sensible one there, says that she doesn't need to be so strict. He wants to see how far the bold Yamong can go. But if things start to get out of hand, he'll intervene. Since she can't disobey her superiors, she makes a face like she's chewing a lemon and agrees to say nothing more. Rabbit informs her that the Tang family's assassination techniques specialize in mass destruction, so a large, disorganized attack will only cause confusion. So he limits the number of participants in the combined attack to 3, and Yamong can choose his opponents. If he doesn't like it, just say so now. And Mang, all confident, accepts the terms. A few moments later, Rabbit is shocked. The blood he expected to see flow turns into a festival of defeats. He thought the contestants would figure out how to counter Yamong's feather needles. But, in less than an hour, more than half of the contestants were already on the ground. The most surprising thing? Yamong used only his needles and a technique called blade capture. No one could resist. Rabbit is worried because, by Yamong's internal energy, he shouldn't be that strong. But he doesn't understand how there is such a brutal difference in skill. If this continues, the Sichuan assembly will go to Beliliu, since the rest are running away in fear. That's when a new character enters, who looks like he came out of an action movie. As everyone runs, he stands out as if he were a super powerful protagonist, stomping his feet and shattering the ground, drawing everyone's attention. He is from the Ascending Phoenix sect and challenges our Chad. saying that he doesn't need anyone else to face Yamong, because he and his guards are enough. What courage, huh? But please, who does he think he is? Rabbit is impressed that he is not running like the others and asks Yamong if he has any objections or if he wants to continue the life or death duel. Yamong says he has no objections, but thinks, what a strange banana peel. I've never seen anything like it, not even in my past life. Zhang, accepting the terms, wastes no time, and the battle begins. He launches his needles at a speed worthy of a superhero. But the two Hans-like guards are like walking shields, using their bodies to block attacks. Yamong realizes that, instead of dying, the needles simply break when they hit them. Iri and Muriel is left open-mouthed, as if she had seen a bad magic trick, and Mang notices that their skin is so dry and cracked that it looks like tree bark, and can't believe that they are trying to copy her favorite character, Groot, but in a third-rate villain version. Rabbit, the thinking rabbit, reflects that the divine art of the withered tree makes the body of whoever practices it wither like an old tree. In return, their skin becomes hard as bark and so resistant that even a sword would feel ashamed. And then, according to Rabbit, our Yamong is in trouble because the banana peel has just tried to attack him, but he dodges it in the blink of an eye. Yamang appears behind one of the henchmen, ready to attack with a needle in his hand, hits the henchman's head with the needle, which is soaked in poison. Henchman number 2, furious, goes after Yamong to get revenge on his older brother. Yamong, with a mischievous smile, holds the henchman's mouth and says he's going to test if his tongue is as resistant as the rest of his body. But, oh poor thing, the henchman is already gone. It seems that Yamong was a little too hard on his new toys. Soon, a fist comes towards Yamong, but in milliseconds he dodges it, leaving the banana peel stunned. Now, using his internal energy, Yamong tries a blow with the palm of his hand. But the henchman, in a moment of heroism or madness, defends the attack. Yamong, with a smile of someone who is having fun, grabs him by the neck and says, nice resistance, but if that's all you've got, you're dreaming if you think you can beat me with just a thick skin. It's like he's laughing in the henchman's face. And, surprisingly, the henchman starts laughing too, telling Yamong that he's a fool for thinking that resistance is everything. He's been waiting for this moment, and the mangrove just stays silent, not responding. The banana peel goes crazy. A green aura starts emanating from his body. He explains that this is the true essence of the divine art of the withered tree. A memory we'd rather not have. His father had taught him about this hidden power, but using it would require killing the opponent. The henchman thinks his time has come and goes after Yamong. The aura starts surrounding our Chad, who screams that it's going to absorb all of his internal energy. Yamong sighs and says that it would be better to stop this, or he will do something common. But Banana Peel has already lost his mind. I feel sorry for him. We have a memory of Banana Peel's father, who was wandering to gain powers. He found a potato in Tibet, and it was not just any potato. It was Senior Potato who saw potential in Junior Potato and taught him the divine art of the withered tree. Yes, you heard that right. Although the advanced version of the technique disappeared, Junior Potato became a pro at catching blades with his hands. And in order to become a true master, he joined the Black Death Alliance. When a lizard evaluated his skills, it realized that the lost part of the technique was not that complicated. Now, returning to the present, the banana peel boasts that its name was not given for nothing. It's because the body withers like a tree, the bark dries out and the energy inside binds to the roots, turning the body into a withered tree that absorbs the energy of its opponents, just as a tree draws water from the ground. He laughs like I do when a video of me goes viral, warning Yamong that he's going to be drained dry. Suddenly, an ant notices something strange. Nothing is happening in the chat and is intrigued. Then, she notices that her arm is melting. The ant starts crying, asking Yamong what he did to her body, while Yamong just smiles. And then comes an important memory from Yamong's past life. There were 3 feared individuals in the martial world, known as the 3 vicious stars of tea absorption. They were like villains in a movie, using the tea absorption technique on anyone who crossed their path. 2 of them even made it to the Flame Realm, but in the Alliance Hall, someone demanded their reward for killing the 3. And guess who it was? Yamong's master was just testing out a new sword technique, and the 3 were so weak that they couldn't survive a single blow. The master once told Yamong that the 3 tried to absorb his chi, but they couldn't handle it and, well, you know what happened? And Mang laughs as she remembers that ordinary martial artists can't stand weak chi, which has a hint of decay. In this life, he hasn't mastered it yet, but that's not a problem. With a smile, he warns, I warned you not to be reckless. Didn't your family teach you not to consume anything? My chi is pure poison. And so, as his arms ache, he uses his poisonous chi and reduces himself to ash, leaving everyone shocked, including the rabbit. Meanwhile, the rabbit worries about the loss of men, and Bangs orders it to stop. She then reveals that she has the little waifu as a hostage, and that she will not stop until she sees Yamong dead. The rabbit cannot believe what she is hearing. Bangs claims that Yamong's skills have exceeded her expectations, and orders the Sword of the Nine Rings to eliminate the young Lord Yamong. And Mang sighs, looking away, as the atmosphere on stage suddenly changes. And just like that, things are about to heat up. So we have a super angry rabbit who asks the girl, really volunteered to take care of the Sichuan assembly. She warns that she knows her fire techniques well, and if she messes up, she can turn our dear waifu into barbecue. Yurian Murian, always the peacemaker, asks why they are fighting, but the girl has no idea. With a scary look, the rabbit releases his threatening aura, saying that if he wants, he can cut her head off from a safe distance. But be careful, if he loses his temper and attacks without thinking, our waifu might get hurt. In trouble, the rabbit puts away his sword and says he will kill her. But first he needs to resolve the situation with Yamong. With an icy look, she replies that if Yamong dies, she accepts his death in good grace. The audience is shocked. To stop Yamong, one of the 6 grandmasters needs to join the fight when they finally face each other. And Nong says she wasn't planning on fighting today. But sometimes life plays tricks, right? Blood is talking like Yamong, with a cigarette on one side and a twig on the other. Suddenly, the anti-stars start playing a song that makes the entire arena vibrate. Yamong finds the song strange and already thinks that something is very wrong. The rabbit, who is not joking around, asks Bangs what she is doing, since her technique is hurting the crowd and even the innocents of the clan. Bangs covers our heroine's ears, and says that she doesn't need to worry. She is protecting Yamong. The rabbit is purple with shame and just look at our troll's face. Bangs replies that if she wanted to stop, she wouldn't have even started. She says that Yamong needs to feel the fear of death, so let's finish Yamong off right away. And Mang thinks that they are too noisy, and the rabbit is shocked. Using a frenetic dance, he throws his spinning blades at the musicians, breaking instruments and sending heads flying. Meanwhile, Yoni calmly collects his rings, as if nothing had happened. Yamong asks if he got rid of the annoying sound, so it's time to finish what he started. So that's it for now, guys. Like the video, comment,